the tech. I'm going to speak about what we both had. We both are in Metro Atlanta. We're both dedicated to sustainability, and both of our campuses have a little bit of solar. They probably have more than we do, but we've also been exploring how else to do solar and how to do more solar. So we both got technical assistance grants from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory over the last year or two. And so we did different things with that grant program, but we wanted to share the results. So we are both talking about the same grant program, but what I did is not the same as what she did. So you're going to hear two different takes to this and what we got out of this presentation. So my focus on solar inventory procurement analysis. And as a background, as I mentioned, we got the grant from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. We were focusing on analyzing solar procurement options for KSU. And the way this works, whenever I say grants, people get all excited. Like, oh, you got all this money for KSU. No. There were $0 tied into this. What they did is they gave us 40 hours of technical assistance to work with our staff on solar. And so what they did is they did a workshop for people from facilities, procurement, accounting, and legal. So again, we're looking at procurement, we're looking at contracts, and these are all folks who are going to be decision makers. So it's not enough for me to know about this. We really need to make sure we bring these folks in. So there would have been a cost for us to go out of the university, get a consultant, have them come in and do this. So there was really a benefit to this, even if we didn't get money attached. Oops, sorry, wrong direction. And so basically the things they're focusing on, there's two different procurement models. One is direct purchase, which is just like what it sounds like. You go out and you directly purchase solar and you put it on your rooftop. The other one has been called a solar energy procurement agreement. That's what they call it in Georgia because of legislation. Everywhere else in the country, they call it a PPA or power purchase agreement. It's a little more complicated. But the way it works is we don't actually purchase a solar system. A third-party company installs solar on our rooftop. We don't own it, we don't maintain it, but we purchase energy generated from that unit. We purchase that electricity, so we pay a per kilowatt hour basis. It's as though it's a utility, but it's not. It's as though a utility, we're installing solar and we're purchasing from them. So they provide an overview of that. As a little bit of background, a direct purchase is about $2 a watt right now. In that case, again, we would own the PV system. It immediately reduced our utility costs. We had a payback of about 15 years under the school load management rate, but that's only if you look at demand. And not to get too nitty gritty, but if you look at consumption only, we don't pay a lot for consumption. It would be a 50-year payback, but once we put demand in there and accounted for that, all of a sudden it went down to 15 years, which is still not the best case scenario, but it's much more realistic. And because the way our utility structure is structured, it was a better deal for KSU's academic and operations staff based on the load we pay. As SEPA, this is so new to Georgia, we couldn't get a definitive rate. We estimated it would be between 7 cents and 12 cents a kilowatt hour. So again, you're paying for the energy generated. We would either own or maintain the system, and it only reduces utility costs if it's less than what we pay Georgia Power for that utility. So if it's 12 cents, we actually pay Georgia Power 10 cents per hourly, so it would be more. If we could get that at 7 cents, then we'd be able to save money. But again, it wasn't something we would say definitively, this is what you're gonna pay. But that was a better option for housing, because housing pays more than academics. Oops, sorry, wrong direction. So once we had this information on how procurement works, what we did is we said, well, we really need a sense of where would we install this? So we did a site selection inventory. We literally looked at all 100-something buildings on the Kennesaw campus, and we really tried to narrow it down. What we did, we looked at roof age, because you don't want to install this on an old roof that has to be replaced. Solar is going to be about 25 years, so you don't want a roof that's going to have to be replaced within 25 years. So we looked at roof age, we looked at contractor access. Can they just walk through a door or open a portal to get out there, or do they have to get a crane and crawl up that way? Is there direct visibility for students? We didn't want to put something up there that you would hear that maybe we had solar, but you'd never be able to see it directly. Is it close by to departments that might use it for academic research or teaching? How big of a project size can you get on there in terms of KW? Because again, the bigger the project, the smaller you're going to pay on a per KW basis. Is the building already LEED certified? You want to do solar as a sort of a last option. You want your building to be as energy efficient as possible and then do solar. Is the building already energy efficient? Does it have a good energy intensity rating? And is the building already sub-metered so we know what they're spending every day, every 15 minutes, every month, not just utility bill data? Oh, I'm sorry, I keep going the wrong direction. So we did the site analysis, and there's two different ways we did it. I did this massive Excel spreadsheet where I could sort of run the numbers a certain time and look at all these different buildings to sort of sort out the best option. And then NREL also trained us on this model, the system advisor model. And that's when they go in and they normalize for weather at certain time frames. And what's interesting is the data was really similar to what I did. When I ballparked it, it was very similar, but I was actually a little bit more conservative than NREL. So NREL technically had better numbers, but at the very least, if I was going to go to management, they could accuse me of being overly generous with numbers, because I was close. We were very, very close, but I was a little bit more conservative. And so through this effort, we settled on five buildings that we thought were first priority, second, and 5 others that were second priority. We had several other buildings that we could sort of work through the list. The Siegel Student Recreation Activity Center was the one that I thought was the best building on campus. You could fit about 850 kW. It's very high visibility. I'll show you a picture in a minute, but literally, if you drive through the front gate of campus, it is the very first building you see. Everybody sees it, whether you're a visitor student, et cetera. It's already a LEED Silver building. The building's 2 years old, with sort of brand new roof, and metered in periscope. Here's a picture of it. So again, this is what you'd see coming onto campus. But then you've got this rooftop up here where that's where you really get the big chunk of solar. And because it's the Recreation Activity Center building, every single student would walk through that door regardless of major, as long as they're interested in using the gym, which most folks, they go for the pool, they go for all sorts of fun things. So the idea there was it would really serve a broad cross spectrum of the community. And so for that, if you looked at direct purchase versus SEPA, for direct purchase, we estimated to be about $1.7 million with a 15-year payback once you counted for demand. We'd be saving about $117,000 a year in electricity costs, and we'd save $3 million over 25 years. Whereas SEPA, it would actually cost us an additional $95,000 to $119,000 a year, because it would be so much more than our utility costs are. We would spend about $1.9 million or more after 20 years. And then, so we'd save $700,000, we'd spend $95,000, we would save $700 from utilities, and that's us. It's just not, it's not really a good way to do it. The other, let's see my graph there. The other project was University Village Apartments. So this is the dorms, the north side of campus. You could fit a much smaller project there, 150 kW, but it is, again, very high visibility. It's a new building roof. They pay closer to 10 cents to 13 cents a kilowatt hour. So the SEPA might actually start to make sense for them. They might save a little bit of money, but they might save a lot of money depending on what type of rate they got. One thing that we thought was really relevant was it only cover public areas due to account structure. So the way that our dorms are set up, every single dorm, every single room that people live in gets its own utility bill. And so we could not do as big of a project as we would like to because it's tied to the account structure. So what we said is going forward, we wouldn't do it that way. What we would do is basically SEPA would only apply to the public utility bill. So it would apply to the hallway, the outdoor lighting. But going forward, we'd say for any new dorm, they wouldn't get individual bills from Georgia Power. Everything would there'd be one bill. And then if we wanted to individually sub-meter at our level, we might do it that way. So that's a picture of campus. You can see a lot of south-facing roof, and that's very, very visible. There's no buildings blocking just a road. So it'd be about $300,000, 16-year payback. For a SEPA, we would have savings of about $2,000 a year. So depending on kind of how much we pay for that. Let's see. So what we proposed for management, and this is the not fun part of the story, we haven't gotten approval to do this. This is something that we put together and put out there and proposed, but we're not necessarily moving forward on this. But what we proposed was that for the academic building, we look at direct purchase. And for housing, they look at student solar energy procurement agreements for any new dorms that are taking place. What we proposed is if we had $1.6 million, that's what it would cost to do this scale of project. And we would look at getting $500,000 in grant funds or from KSU contributions. And we encouraged our foundation to look at a $1 million alumni campaign, saying if we had 10 people donating, that would get us to $1 million. And we would match that funds with $500,000. And that would, wouldn't be 1.6, it would be $1.5 million. And that would generate $120,000 in annual savings. We split that between student scholarships and facility revolving loan fund. That's what we propose they do. I think it's a great idea. We didn't get approval to do that, but foundation was really interesting. So this is a sort of a long-term hope that we do for KSU. For housing, again, there's NACEPA. And those are just some more, let's see, did I show you all pictures already? Yep. So those are some more projects we looked at, so folks can see. And I'm going to hand it over to Ann Rogers. I'll pull this up as she comes up here. But basically, thank you. My encouragement to folks was, this was a really good model to sort of understand what exists on KSU and how it can be used. So going forward, so we can use it as decision-making tool as much as possible. Thanks, Jennifer. I really leverage Jennifer's very amazing knowledge on solar projects and solar financing strategies. So she was a guide post for me in our grant process, so she went through hers first. I will say that this presentation is adapted from the report that Emerald gave to us, so I'm just stealing it on our behalf. But different from what Jennifer looked at in Kennesaw State, we had to model the potential for solar on a campus level. So we didn't do a building by building analysis. We assessed this on a larger scale. And we had no kind of workshops or in-person meetings. We just had a bunch of conference calls where they prepared for us this model behind the scenes and then shared with us the results. We were a part of the grant award for services along with 6 other institutions. And so, you know, there was an application process and it was fairly easy, but we were selected and were excited to be among these other institutions. You don't need to read this, but you have to provide inputs. You have to give them information, and that takes coordination across key stakeholders in your institution. And then they use that information to put into their model, and you get specific outputs. You get an understanding. We got an understanding of economic cost model, the technology types, you know, the net present value, and what we should do and when we should do it. These are their assumptions. We don't have to walk through, but you know, we really wanted to make sure this was accurate and the assumptions we made were, you know, a good back of the envelope. So it's not going to be perfect, but it's as best as we felt confident in what we came up with. So this was we had a map and then we had a spreadsheet of every building roof square footage and the applicability of solar potential for it. And the way that we went through this process was, luckily I have a colleague in the Center for GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, and they luckily already had from a space management standpoint all the buildings mapped on our campus as well as tree inventories. We have an arboretum on campus with over 12,000 trees, and so they've mapped every tree, how big, how much the shading canopy is, and so I kind of lucked out and was like, hey Siva, can you do this little analysis for me? It did take a few months, but he had some students basically assess our campus potential for solar based on we did it by roof infrastructure, so how cluttered is the roof and how open, how much, you know, how open is it compared to having lots of mechanical systems, as well as the shading of trees on campus. And it was not, we did not do like a site-by-site analysis, we just had a general, you know, looking at using Google and looking at kind of overhead GIS platforms, we just assumed some things about the facility. But it gave us a back-of-the-envelope thumbnail test for like what would work on our campus. And we assumed a 90% roof area for PV availability because the analysis that Siva did through GIS kind of helped us understand how cluttered those roof spaces were. So the green are what we thought could work, and then the yellow are no's. basically, we have a lot of energy. We use a lot of energy, and the amount of energy you use on a campus matters when you're doing an assessment like this. We'll get to the results. But we use 330 million kilowatt hours. As part of the modeling process, they simulate, using some utility data you provide, they simulate the overall campus load profile. And so, and they have like a commercial database where they assess and simulate this through, but this is kind of what gets to your outcome, is this simulation. You have to provide your rate structure model, and so we are our real-time pricing model. This is way over my head, and I had some engineers help me communicate some of this stuff to them, but basically what it comes down to is that we have a very low rate for electricity. Our average rate is 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which from an administrative standpoint sounds amazing. It's so cheap. But you'll see how that impacts our returns. And also, basically the amount of solar we can get on campus can never impact our base load generation, which impacts the costs that solar impact would have. So results, based on the amount of potential square footage, we could have an 8 megawatt system on our campus, which is huge. It is a huge system in total. And it would cost $15.5 million. And they assumed also a power purchase agreement to model. But these represent like the actual cost if we direct purchased. And basically, it would impact any deal we could have with the solar provider, because these would be the costs they could have to issue. And basically, what it came down to is the net present value. The value now of what, how impactful over time this investment is compared to other things that you could put your investment in. And so we have a negative $13 million net present value, which isn't good. But again, this is a thumbnail for us because we can do some renewable energy planning that better focuses and targets our direction. And so this has been a really important initiative for us, study for us, because it's really easy, I think, for leadership to say we need to have solar on our campus. We need to have solar on our campus. It shows off the technology. It's the living learning lab thing and all this amazing stuff. But when it comes down to it, we might not be in a marketplace that best supports the economic model for these technologies. Like I said, it's the impact of PV is limited. The blue represents the amount of PV generation from that 8 megawatt system, y'all. Like, that is huge, and it still barely makes a dent. So the other thing we have to consider, right, is that we don't want to put a power plant on inefficient buildings. We need to address our load consumption overall and figure out how we can get that down so that the PV generation makes a bigger impact in our overall use. And PV becomes economical when our average price is 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And that's like a normal residential rate, about. But like for our rate, that's significantly more expensive. And we already are getting kind of an install cost discount with above 5 megawatt system. So yeah, I mean, break-even cost requires a 90% reduction of current PV installation cost estimates. That's significant for where we are in the market. So conclusions, we have limited favorable utility rates for a campus-wide approach for PV, And we have our rate structure is so low that it prevents incentives from, you know, getting a payback. And that's it. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Okay. Does anyone have any questions for us? Sure.
Have you considered just leasing your rooftop space to someone else? The challenge here, if you don't pay anything for electricity, but for other people, it may be valuable for them to lease your space to sell the power to someone else.
Yeah, we are looking into that. Oh, sorry. So the question was how we consider leasing our rooftop to someone else, and we are looking into that right now to further understand that. Honestly, that is so the way that works. We don't get all the visibility of solar. We get all the metering potential of solar. We will show students, look, this is what solar looks like. This is how much we're generating. We don't actually get any credit for solar. It doesn't affect our utility bills. We don't get it.
Offset from the rent. So it does
Yes.
affect the utility.
Yes. Sure. Sure. I would not want it to go.
Talk to the people who are offering a substantial rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nominal.
It's nominal.
It's very small.
Yeah.
The amount of rent is that's paid. And you don't get the renewable energy credits,
Yeah.
which is all that we care about.
Yeah.
Because it's how we justify offsetting our carbon impact through renewable energy. If we don't have the renewable energy credits like directed to us, if some third party gets to keep those, then we can't take credit for the renewable energy that's generated on our campus.
Which matters from a reporting standpoint.
But yeah, from our friends at Agnes Scott and others that we've heard about the leasing agreements, it's so small that it doesn't even make a dent to us.
And our utility bills are in the millions of dollars a year. We'd be talking $20,000 a year if we're lucky. So I wouldn't want that to go towards utility bills. I would want that to go towards sustainability projects, and even then it would be such small money. Yeah. Any other questions? Thoughts? Is anyone else doing this on their campus? Anyone else looking into solar?
Explore.
Explore. Okay, I'll share with you this. Okay. Yeah, me too. Yes.
But it would say Georgia Tech, Kennesaw, Emory, Agnes Scott, and the 4 agency institutions to make it financially viable.
I'm ready to have that conversation. Ma'am, you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. Well, this is just what you just presented is so sophisticated. It's really, you can see how the campus sustainability movement has come such a long way. And I wonder, it seems like the main focus was researching options, not so much implementation. The decision, I guess, it's not a very favorable situation for at least photovoltaics. I don't know if you looked at solar thermal.
No, yeah, we didn't look at solar thermal, but basically what this study helped us develop was a direction for a potential renewable energy plan. We have about 5 solar PV projects on buildings that have been direct purchased, and we're thinking about a renewable energy strategy on multiple levels. On a building level, because we have to maintain and manage and replace the systems that we have, and that's inevitable. We have to think about these public-private partnerships that extend beyond campus, and there's models out there that showcase those successes, and then we also can look at it as an out-of-state option. And we're trying to use this as a direction point, but we're not trying to create any sort of conclusions on what's best for Georgia Tech. We just need to have a study done that helps assess this on an economic level, and it really is just an economic and policy study. And some of these things we don't even know are legal through the university system of Georgia, so we need to figure that out as well. Well, and you really need to do the research to present the proposal to do implementation. One of the things I didn't really touch on in my presentation, but when I started, they had done a very rudimentary engineering design for a building. I'll give you just a minute, for a building, and it was the worst possible building on campus. It was
the rooftop was 15 years old. There was no visibility for students. It was not a LEED building. It wasn't an especially fancy, energy efficient building. And I could never really wrap my head around, why did you guys pick this building to do this? Why did you guys spend, I don't know, $5,000 to do something on this building? How did this company even tell you that was okay? They should have said, let's not do this building. So at the very least, I was able to convince management, if we're gonna do it, do a LEED building, do an energy efficient building, do some high visibility, do a new rooftop. And so that at least got some direction. And then we're able to start talking. And we have a year-end fund, so maybe one day we'd have $200,000 left over at year-end, and maybe I could do a small project. But at that time, it would be a really quick decision, like, let's look at the map, let's look at the inventory we did, let's pick this rooftop, boom. So in a way, we weren't moving towards implementation, but that conversation had to happen before we could do implementation in the first place.
I think we're out of time. Do we have time to do your one?
We have one question or? Sure.
Don't look at me.
Let's take one question.
Just a real quick question. In the research, did you find that the PV panel industry, that the cost of the panels are going down, going up? Which direction are they going?
Down, absolutely down, and the efficiency of the panels are going up. So I shared this with some of my friends in the aerospace engineering school. We also had an amazing engineer, Peter Rumsey's, working on another project for us, looked at this and ripped it to shreds because they don't believe NREL's assumptions around PV efficiency at this point. They think it's way better than what they're predicting. So it's like you gotta get kind of a second look or third look on these because it's free, you pay for, but it's definitely down. Yep.
Do you think moving forward, off-site solar is going to be much less expensive? I know we're all space limited, so that may never be an option, find land somewhere else. But is that part of the implementation cost, is doing this on buildings and just the limitation?
I bet yes. I mean, you can check with our NREL people, but those installation costs were probably at a building level. They weren't on a site open field level.
Building scale.
Yeah, building
And
scale.
if you go off-site, you're talking much larger scale, much greater.
But the cost per square foot are lower, you know, and I like looking into that as well.
So we have a 10-minute break and then we'll have the next
We consider combination PV, solar, project. Yeah, this is like.
Good morning. Okay, so we have a question. Yeah. So we got kind of confused with this deadline, and so we hadn't submitted our presentation. Is it still possible?
Sustainability Coordinator here at Georgia Southern in the Division of Facility Services. I've been working here at Georgia Southern since about 2015. It's already 2 years down the line. And I've been in environmental health and safety for about 10 years now, working in the US, the Caribbean, Latin America, and the UK. With me today, I have Steve Watkins. He's our energy manager here at Georgia Southern, and he has over 30 years of experience as an engineer, a contractor, and even a salesman. And so he'll be joining us to talk about the climate innovation and an efficient energy management program. Now, I do ask for you to keep your questions at the end, and this presentation will be made available to you. All right, so we're going to start off to give you a bit of context about Georgia Southern. Then we'll look at the foundation of our energy management plan, which is part of our climate action plan. We'll go a bit into our energy management system and look at a couple of our projects in transportation, alternative energy, water conservation, and then Steve will go even further into our facilities energy management plan. All right, some fast facts. Georgia Southern was founded on December 1, 1906. We're part of the University System of Georgia. We're actually the largest higher education facility in the south of Georgia. Now our campus is 900 acres and we have about 120 buildings. And our faculty and staff, we have upwards of 2,500. And our enrollment continues to grow at above 20,000. And of course, I must say, welcome to our house, home of the Georgia Southern Eagles. Go Eagles. All right, so let's start off with our climate action plan. Our president, Bruce Grube, signed the American College and University President's Climate Commitment in 2007. Now, in 2011, President Brooks Hill re-signed that commitment, demonstrating Georgia Southern's understanding of how important sustainability is to educating our students and to having a more sustainable society. In 2016, our interim president, Jean Bartels, also our first female president, approved our climate action plan. And in 2017, Georgia Southern University has made sustainability one of our core values of our new university. Now, very important, when you're setting up that strategic climate action plan, we were able to put together a team, which we called our Energy Task Force. And this Energy Task Force consisted of persons from facilities, the Center for Sustainability, auxiliary services, administration, faculty, and the student body. Now, having that Energy Task Force, we're able to create a number of partnerships between the different departments. We're able to really capitalize on the strengths of each of those members of that task force to come up with a good strategy for our energy management plan. Now, another very important point is you must have your climate action plan be aligned with your overall campus master plan. And so I pulled out a number of the areas of that campus master plan which we've been able to align our climate action plan with, and that we'll be looking at the transportation fleet, looking at reusable resources, and then a bit more into our facilities. All right, so transportation. Georgia Southern is actually nationally ranked #1, really, for the number of passengers on our buses. We have over 15,000 people on our buses every single day. This, of course, reduces the number of single passenger vehicles on our campus and also reduces our overall carbon footprint. Now, Georgia Southern, as Dr. Lee had mentioned this morning, has a student sustainability fee. Having this fee has allowed us to do a number of projects when it comes to having an energy management plan, one of which, as she mentioned, was to install solar panels on our campus electric utility cars. We've also been able to have our first electric vehicle charging station, which we installed in 2016. And we can see Dr. Bartels there at our ceremony. Now, where feasible, Georgia Southern has been committed to installing solar panels, especially on our new buildings. And right now we have one on our biological science building. Now, the solar potential in Statesboro is quite vast, but that is just speculative right now. So what we decided to do was to get some facts. As we know, once you have the research in place, then you can bring that to administration. So we worked with the mechanical engineering department and division of facilities to install a solar tracker, which gives us a better data set of what our solar potential is here in Statesboro. And we're continuing to look for a number of projects that will put more solar on our campus, one of which is our facilities car charging station. So this will be installed right behind our facilities department, and it will be for all our electric cars. Now, looking at water conservation, which is also part of our climate action plan, we've partnered with the city of Statesboro to have reuse of water, which are all on purple pipes around campus. And when you go around, you can look out for those purple pipes this afternoon. Make sure you go at 4 o'clock. And you'll see that we're using a number, we're able to reuse our water around campus for our grounds. So at this time, I'm going to let Steve delve even deeper into our facilities energy management plan.
Thank you. I'm gonna let her do the clicker. But this is an efficient energy operation plan. And we'll talk to you about that, how to set one up, and then see a lot of pictures that we got on it. And I'm gonna go pretty quick, so got quite a few slides to show you. All right, so where to manage and reduce energy consumption. This is a little pie chart. Shows the heating and air conditioning on the commercial setting of the campus is about 56%. Lighting is about 23%, and the other is hot water. 4 key concepts in energy planning. You gotta come up with your objectives. You gotta define them and identify your objectives. Standards, you gotta formulate a sustainable energy committee of some kind. Give definitive written energy concepts and guidelines, establish campus energy policy. Ours is about 3 pages long. That's where you get targeted temperature controls of buildings. I say targeted because not all buildings can function at those levels, but that's where you set that. We set our agenda about what our operating hours are, what kind of times we have facilities fully operational, holidays, setups, and those kind of things. So very important that you have a policy set in place that the administration will back up. You got to get commitment out of your higher administration people to back up those policies, and then you got to deploy and measure. Okay, it takes a team effort to accomplish that, and so I encourage you to work on those components. Here's another portion of it: our mission and basic energy review. We look at facilities, building existing buildings and new designs. We look at, I don't have it up there, we look at energy models of those things here. Architects have to produce a statement saying it meets the Georgia Energy Code. When they build a building, most of them will do an energy model. That'll give you an idea about the operation of that building. We look for metering. That com check is a report. It gives you a database of what kind of, especially lighting that goes in that building. You can use that as rebatable materials. And then building commissioning has become a pretty regular happening in new facilities. Recommissioning is something that's been talked about. We do some in some instances. HVAC systems, we look at high efficiency chillers and boilers and motors. HVAC controls, logic, scheduling, DDC controls on all our boxes and stuff. Variable frequency drives on our fans and motors. We also delve into the electrical systems. We are pushing everything that we build that's brand new, LED lighting, and the major renovations is LED lighting, even the retrofits and the upgrades. We look at lighting controls, occupancy sensors. We'll talk about that a little later. Energy efficient windows and doors, and then reflective roof seals. I'm gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and some slides here coming up. So that's the madness we'll go through. Next. Before we get there, you need to understand the infrastructure of your campus. If you're a sustainability coordinator, energy manager, you need to understand those. Those are networks. They've been around a long time. Your electric, your gas, your water, your sewer, they're all in the ground, but they're networks. Here at Georgia Southern, we have an electrical infrastructure that's basically 12 quadrants, 15 televised meters, and 125 sub-meters in that electrical system. We also are serviced by 3 different substations coming into our campus. When I first came here some 25 plus years ago, we were serviced from 1 substation. When something went down, the whole campus went down. Now we're diversified, much more diversified. I want to show you this building. We'll talk about it a little bit. This is our RAC, Recreation Activity Building. Pretty good size, about 220,000 square feet. Got a lot of lighted basketball courts in it. Then you hit that some more. It's got some acreages and some sports lighting. I want you to see all the glass in the front of it. The positioning of that building is basically catches the, it faces kind of southeast. So it catches the early morning sun. The high raised sun is directly overhead, so it has a lot to do with that reflective roof seats. I wanted to show you that picture of that reflective roof on the top of that building. Huge impact to that building. And then student sustainable fees and LED parking lots. We partnered with the student sustainability fee. I just wanted to show you a few of these parking lots. This is only about 5 or 6 of them. We've done probably 30. Okay, just want to show you these. We went from high pressure sodium to LED lighting. Dean, we'll show you something about that. When you go talk to these lighting vendors, you're going to need some design for that lighting. Most of the vendors need just guidance. You may need a PDF drawing or CAD map, and they'll lay these things out for you and get you foot candle levels. Usually for no fee, they're trying to sell you a product. So they will do that for no fee. If you'll give them the map and give them a little bit of guidelines about what kind of foot candles you're looking for. There are some ratings for foot candles you got to have to meet the safety codes and energy codes and lighting codes. This is our in-house upgraded parking lots. These are our guys doing it. They are letting us go a lot further. We accomplished a lot more. We combined our grants from the student fees with some in-house monies and in-house labor. Our guys really enjoyed working on them, I think. And it's an attrition thing with us. So, but they really enjoyed working on them. I want to give you a before and after look. This is before look on the left. On the right is an after look, where we change from lighting levels. What you see is going to light on the ground. Also, we've come into some new initiatives. We've installed just recently, in the past year, some power lighting, LED lighting along the RAC activity center walkways. And our folks installed that, and we're doing some tests on those. Other thing, in our future initiatives, we're targeting daylight harvesting in our library. I'll show you a picture of that. That's a picture of the library in the front set there. And then our new building, which is going on right down the pedestrian here, it's a total LED lighting building, total occupancy sensors. Got 40 plus daylight harvesting sensors in the atriums and in the foyer. This is our kind of crown jewel. This is our energy management system. It's a Johnson Controls medicine system. It's Ethernet on fiber optic backbone throughout the campus. This has been something I worked on for years, but we have advanced it and continually advanced it. And we have some 80 network operating, basically industrial grade computers in buildings. And that's a picture, a setup for one over there running the building. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably this building. These are the things we do. We partner with Johnson Controls. They help us with all these functionalities here. Big thing we do is we set schedules that's backed up by that policy. The other thing we do is we look at sensors, calibrate sensors, resettings and things. One of the key features we do right here is down here at the bottom. We load shed during extremely hot times. We have a targeted triggering load shedding system for the summer. And it offsets this kind of money every year. Those are actual real savings dollars. That's just projected. That's against the bill that we got from the power company. They told us how much we saved. Next. This is a unique feature. I was actually talking to a vendor the other day about it. We put occupancy sensors in buildings. And our scope and our scheme, we interlock those lighting occupancy sensors with VAV boxes in space. So when the lights go out over a period of 3 or 4 rooms, that's controlled by the VAV box in that area, it throttles that VAV box down and resets back. We only move it about 2 to 3 degrees. Most people don't know that. They don't even sense it happening. It throttles all the way back through the system, throttles back through the air handler, throttles back, slows the motor down, trims out the chill water valve, trims your chiller down, your chiller doesn't run hard. It's a huge energy savings. And it runs all the time and people really don't even know. It doesn't really impact a lot. We also use it in the scheme of our load shedding. This is a box. I wanted you to see a box on that thing. This is our Johnson Controls Medicine. This is a graphic look. Our guys really look at all the numbers. These are pictures so you can see it better. This is your setup on the top right. Is your setup. What you see is occupied heating, occupied cooling, unoccupied heating, unoccupied cooling, standby cooling, standby heating. Then now here on the bottom, you see a zone temperature. They got a digital thermostat. They can see all that. We can see it too. They got a 5-degree movement in there, but we can see it. They can't see the one at the top. So we have somebody that mans that thing 24/7, 12 hours a day. They get caught up with it. They got outside air. Yeah. I've been there. Here's a peak curve. You need to understand your peak load curve of your campus. This is a summer day, peak summer day. That red line is your load profile. It's against our tariff structure. And that little 220 at the top, from that little dark sliding line, that little curve right across the top there, red, that's $220,000 in it. You bring it down to that curve, a lot of money saved. When you save money, you save energy. Okay? This is our triggering system. We look at the amps that come in our system. We correlated those amps to KW demand load on our whole campus. When it reaches, it refreshes about every 2 seconds. When we see all that, we get a global triggering demand. We do that July, August, September, and that keeps our rate tariff in line, produces that curve down below that curve there, saves a lot of energy, a lot of money. We have studied all our buildings. We know how much energy they use. We prioritize our buildings, and then we know what we can do in those buildings based on the functionalities of the building. So if they got a science thing going on in the building, we can't trim it back because that science study has probably got a temperature component in it. So that's what we do. We have a scheme, and we set priorities for buildings that we're going to hit. Just wanted you to see a lead bag chiller setup. You see the different temperatures over there. Standard run of the chiller is about 42 degrees. It comes back at about 50. You can set it back to 51 and 54 for the second one. A lot of them have 2. That's a huge difference in cost of operation and energy use. We track our switch house. What you see there is about, I think it's about a week or 10 days of information. And we see what's happening. What you see there, you see Monday through Friday, we see Saturday and Sunday. We also get a look at the power company's load curve shape. We have the software, we can go get that. That's Energy Direct. Most of you may be aware of it. If you have any business with Georgia Power, you can get that information. You can get it at your desktop. You can go into it. But we have, the only problem with this is that it's 24 hours in arrears unless you got an RTP rate and pay for those extra fees. This is our Johnson system. You have to keep it up. We're in a version about version 7, going to version 8. I started here with version 1. So you keep advancing, and you keep advancing, and technology advances. The controls industry is driven by technology advances, and they're yearly. And so we try to lag behind 1 year, so we get all the bugs out of the software. before they come to us. And it takes a little while. It's going to take us 12 to 18 months, to maybe 2 years to make the transition. We have a fairly large system. Just wanted to show you this. We have housing, Freedom Landing, wireless T-Stat networks. We basically have entered into agreement with Johnson to be an alpha beta testing site. We have an academic building, sheet building that has programmable thermostats in it that are linked to our Johnson stuff wirelessly. And then we have a housing complex. They have a beta site where they're doing one building that has about 12 package units in it, split system units, and we're looking at those, and we're probably going to go forward with that in the housing side. That's all linked into our load shedding system. All right, you got to measure, monitor, and take the tracking report. You got to measure it, monitor it, track it, report it. All right, got 10 minutes, and we'll go quick. Quick. This is our in-house metering system, sub-metering system. It's actually outside. It's wireless. It's automatic. It's an Itron system. You see electric, gas, and water. We also have a meter data management system that dumps those into automatically. I wanted to show you this if you decide to do something on your campus. Wirelessly, you probably will have to do a propagation study analysis of your campus. That is the library in front of you. You see all the glass in there, the high tower. There's some neat applications in outside of the building. This is what the platform looks like. This is just the metering system. And we get data out of that on a daily basis. This is a data management warehouse system where we can compare buildings, how they operate, which one's using the most energy, and we can also we can compare it against the weather and look at it pretty quickly. This is where the industry's going. In the technology and energy side and sustainability, you'll see these systems, they're advancing. Weather, got a weather station. We got about 4 or 5 little weather stations. They're very inexpensive. This one's actually right outside the door. And this is the data you pull off of that, so you have real-time weather data right on your campus. Okay. What drives this with this thing was the Georgia Energy Challenge in 2020. Reduced about 15%, starting with data gathered in 2007. We had a plan for growth. We had to reduce about 5% of where we're at there, and reduce natural gas by 35. That 35 is a big number, but I also know we had about 6 or 8 big, huge boilers that we have since replaced, and they're much, much more efficient. We track all the numbers. Facilities. This is just one of 5. Has 10 budget categories, 6 utilities, a total campus. We do a month annually. Facilities has 90+ source bills and 75 internal bills monthly, just for utilities, for the 4 million utilities. There's our numbers. We report them to the Board of Regents on their forms. We get our energy use index, and we've done pretty well. This is our graph of our energy use index. Starting about 2014, we hit our mark. If we can stay with the line going that way, we're going to stay in the right range of where we need to be to meet our challenge. We've already got some awards for that. It's been very interesting. I want to show you one last thing, last slide. This is our interaction with a commercial energy efficient program rebate from Georgia Power. It started back in 2012. You can see right there, we've done probably 330, probably done 330 applications with that. We're right now on about 22 or 23. We'll have about 50 this year, something like that. And those are the numbers, and it offsets our utility costs and helps drive our projects. So, okay, now, that's it. Now, I'll leave this to
So we have some time for questions, 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions for myself or Steve?
Steve, can you talk about the rebate program and how you staff that and how you kind of reap the savings with, with staff time?
You're looking at staff. They did produce a consulting firm. What drove the rebate program was about 2012. Georgia Power asked for some rate increases across the board. The Public Service Commission, the Public Service Regulated Utility, they said you're gonna have to produce an energy rebate program for us to give you that rate. That's the outcome of that, all right? They had to hire a third-party consultant group to help customers make applications of that. It's all software driven. There's a pretty good sized guideline there. It is behooved to the owner to initiate all those programs. And they're basically go online, software set them up. There's about 4 or 5 pieces of data you have to put in for each application.
So you do all of that?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's just another hat you wear when you work. And it's something that you gotta have. You gotta have a want to, and you gotta be consistent and persistent. And if you're gonna change the paradigm shift and to a sustainability energy management type system, you're gonna have to be consistent and tough it out and put your list on the table and put your wants on the table. Just like she said, you gotta get the studies before. You know, if you came in and had great numbers with a study and put it on the table, the odds are they're not gonna fund it because they've already got it on the table. But if you put your study on the table, come back next year with a little better number, come back next year with a little better number. When that number gets right, you have shifted the paradigm and they'll move. But you gotta put it on the table and you gotta put it on the list.
What is that, sorry, where does the rebate money internally go?
It goes back into our utility. I tried to get them to put it into our relighting account. We could not get the administrative people to do that. They want to put it back into the utility account. So that makes it difficult sometimes to get budget increases for those utilities. But if you got a new facility, you can justify it. Yes, ma'am.
Are the water bottle filling stations that are like on top of the water fountains included in this initiative? Or are they like separate?
Yeah, the water bottle stations are just one of the other programs that we have as part of our overall climate action plan.
And is that making like a pretty significant difference?
For us, yeah, for right now, what we've noticed
investment, and how quick do you know how has it paid for itself from the savings?
Well, let's back up. I'll just hit the control system real quick. Code-wise, you got to put a control system in the building. Code-wise, you got to put a lighting control in the building. So the question is, do you buy a smart control system or just a generic system? Well, we did some justifications way back in the beginning, but once you establish that, it becomes part of the project anyway. And then to look at its payback, it's kind of nebulous because it's embedded in the controls of the building. You build a new building, the question is, you're going to put smart to it. So we just gotten acclimated to it. It took about 3 to 5 years to get everybody acclimated to that. And you get into the metering system. We actually got seed money on the Board of Regents back in 2007 when they came up with the Georgia Energy Challenge. And we are one of the institutions. That got us kick-started in there, but then our institutional people, administrative people, matched some money to do it. Now, it tells you, it helps you justify what your operating costs are when you get ready to go ask for money. You know, we're building a new building out here. How much utility money are we going to get running? Well, we got some real numbers, and we got some measured numbers. It's not nebulous. So those are 2 ways it backs it up. And then these guys check in here. If anybody's done that, you ask for $1, how much do you get? About 35 cents. So that's it. Yes, sir.
I have a quick question. So the weathering stations that you guys have, the weathering stations you have on campus that you were talking about, data collection, is that open source? Like, is that real time, temperature, humidity facilitation, is that something that's open source as far as that data set?
I'm trying to think of the name of the company. We actually did it. I'm not real good with the technology term open source, but it is NOAA. You can get it on NOAA. You can draw NOAA's data from it, from other places that have that weather system in there. We have two that are embedded in the Johnson, system. We have another 2 or 3 that are outside of that you can dial into. Our grounds use it to look at water sprinkling, and then there's one of them that's got a lighting feature on it so they can look at lighting spots and get people off playing surfaces. So to answer your question, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Yes, you can see us. I look at something over in France the other day, see what the weather's like. It has that capability. The thing only costs $2,000. That's your desktop when you're at home, in your office. And you can see all over the world what the weather is. And it's not very expensive. So trying to think of the name of it, but I'll let you.
All right. So
one quick question: when you say you staff your control station across the campus, you staff it with a Johnson Controls individual, or your staff trained?
No, we have our own people. We do have a service agreement with them, but we keep that thing very low.
Okay.
It's less than half a person. Okay. That costs us less than half a person.
We're contracted with Siemens right currently. They're not business once a month, or it's just trying to get. You have a consistent, and this is, I guess, the first month. You have consistent turnover down here. Is it pretty safe?
The guy that's been working that, he's probably been in that shop at least 15 years. Okay. We've had some turnover in there, but and there are some guidelines where you're going to need some backup and service agreement because the software gets fairly complicated. We can run it, we can operate it, but when we've got software issues, we get their expertise. We also get their expertise when we go lab and do it.
all right, so we're just out of time, but what I can leave you with is the word persistence. This does not happen overnight. As you can see, it's been a number of years that we have been putting this project together, setting up our entire climate action plan. So persist, but continue on in sustainability. Thank you.
We got about 10 minutes and then lunch. Okay, lunch will be
When I can, I'll tell you.
Everybody, yeah, that's.
HKS
I don't know if I can do that.
if he's asked for it, then it's more likely to follow through. We all know it's done. We gotta wait till the next month or so. Okay, so guys, it started to
That's a good thing, like, if you can come back, because we registered for the whole This is going to be
Sure. So that's the first thing you do is make a spreadsheet.
units for the whole thing.
Sorry, sir. I have a call. This is one of our leaders. And that's who actually. I know, yeah. Points that we want to address.
Some notes the other night, we had the guy who's supposed to
gonna be like what you do.
There was a period of time that you guys want to change.
We're gonna be really interested in sustainability. Actually, I don't know if I've ever, I saw, I heard this story. I met one of the students at Asian, because they were on and she started, that's good, you got that.
So I was like,
That might have been a purpose. You suggest that to actually, yes,
I remember
creative marketing.
This is a.
It looks weird.
So I led the presentation for and you learn the rules of the road.
This is a lot of it. We think from the side of here.
We'll pull your chair out. The keynote speakers we named that?
Yes, here in like. Yeah, one is.
Good afternoon. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you George Bandy, who is Vice President of Sustainability for Mohawk Industries. And George has done several things in his career besides encouraging me to come here to Georgia. This man is passionate about sustainability and breaks my heart every time I hear him speak, because he really shows how important sustainability is, has many messages for you. So I'm looking forward to hearing him speak about how much we have to do, but also inspiring you about where we can go with this. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you, George.
Test. All right. Welcome to volumes right now. I always like to be able to be. This is like an 8th grade classroom. So I've been in this arena for quite a long time. I've been in 5 cities in 4 days this week, so I'm a little exasperated. And that drive coming here from Savannah was a little unusual. There were several vehicles that decided to get in my way on the way here. Actually, my kids love this picture more than anybody. But so I'm currently the Vice President of Sustainability for Mohawk. Before that, for 15 years, I headed up sustainability at Interface. Before that, I was a sustainability officer for the University of Texas System. So those of you faculty, staff, and people who practice sustainability, I have walked in those shoes back in the mid-90s when it wasn't popular in an oil state. I'm trying to convince people with more D's behind me that sustainability was important to them. So one of the things I want to try to do is remind you that that's my boss. Although I work for Mohawk, there's a pecking order, and I'm at the bottom of it. Those are my financial challenges. They currently remind me why they're my financial challenges. I have 4 millennials inside of my home, and they keep me, I call myself a perennial. I keep having to reinvent myself every year and figure out what the hell they got going on. So one of my daughters is a graduating senior from the University of Georgia. The other one's a sophomore at Kennesaw State. Those are the bookends. And the twins in the middle are 16 in that North Carolina, about to drive me totally bananas. So it's fun right now. So the road you're on with sustainability will be a lonely road sometimes. I don't want to be misleading and make you think that this is going to be a pathway that's automatically happen to the space. Second thing you need to know is that the jobs that you are going to be looking for have not been created yet. The job that I have now will not exist the way it's going to exist for you by the time you become employed. It will be something totally different. And most of you will have to create your own pathway. So be prepared for that. Don't let it be a surprise to you. It is no different than being a startup. And oftentimes we look for organizations who have practiced sustainability for a long time to try to go in and become a part of. That's probably not the best path, because most of the fruit has already been picked up. And so the level of work that you will have to do will be higher and quicker. So a lot of times it's best to find an organization that hasn't done very much and try to connect with them to become a leader inside that organization, where you can gain a reputation for accomplishing tasks throughout that organization and get some things on your resume that allow you to look a lot better to other companies who need someone later on. So be thoughtful in the way that you process your progress around education. It's important. So I was at UT Houston Health Science Center in the early 90s. I'm thinking this is 23 years ago when I was a sustainability officer at UT Houston. Think about that. I want to remind you, for my faculty and staff, this looks like your org chart. It it's really interesting that faculty, staff, and leadership at institutions always talk about collaborative learning, collaborative workspace, but everybody functions inside silos. Every budget's in a silo. And so the thought process that comes across to students is collaborate when they come to work, it's silo, silo, silo. We have to do a better job of making the institution reflect the type of model that the business world is beginning to do now, so that they can see that in their academic life, so when they get out in the real world, it doesn't become a surprise to them. You can tell them I said so, you don't have to take that message on yourself. That's me, a younger me, slimmer me. When I was at UT Houston in the first recycling effort that we had, when we decided to do all paper. That is 1 week's worth of paper at UT Houston. As tall as this building, and probably as wide as this building in a week's time. Incredible mass paper. Now they have that, I think they said it's 1 month's worth. It's about the same thing that feels like that was 1 week's worth in. Still a lot of paper to be moved. We did a lot with the natural step. We did a lot of training, a lot of academic enhancement, trying to get our vendors, our faculty, and our staff to kind of understand why sustainability was important. We did a lot in the community. You need to remind yourself that your neighborhood views your campus differently. Are you really connected to what's going on outside these four walls, and are you inviting these four walls to be opened up to the people outside in the community? Where sustainability is real for those folks in that neighborhood. So we had a lab. We had a student and a faculty member in the School of Public Health receive a $40 million grant to do an urban ecology project. 40 million to do an urban ecology project. That kind of sparked why sustainability was important on that campus. And they began to look at things differently because they were able to receive some other types of grants. This is an interesting grant. It was looking as if they could grow some type of pharmaceuticals inside of an inner city to treat cancer. Unusual, but the grant was received. They did the work. Of course, MD Anderson was one of the founding founders of this particular grant, and it still goes on. I think it's like $1 billion now, and they're still doing it. So they did this wetland area that was close to the facility. They ran it on solar and wind. This is in the mid-90s. They used bikes as urban transport, and they made the bikes free to the students. And what happened was the facility guys took over all the bikes because the campus was landlocked. And so they wanted to get from building to building. So they put the tools in the baskets and they used the building. So they had to double the bikes relatively quickly. And it was a good thing because it was good to see other people kind of just leave a bike somewhere and go and pick it up. Kind of that whole city model all over again. We had waterless journals, piloted them early, 45,000 gallons of water savings. Had solar, big solar photovoltaic array. Man, I look good in that picture. Had hair, had hair and everything. So, interesting process, but we really focused on a lot of aspects of sustainability that I'm still seeing happen today. And it's unfortunately, there's sometimes entry points on campus of things that we did in the 90s. And we published a lot of this information and we just kind of got lost. So I'll say to you that there's a lot of things have changed relatively quickly as it relates to this upcoming environment that you're going to be walking into. First time in human history that more people live in cities than do not. First time. People are moving into the city. That's why Uber and Lyft are so popular. Students will move to the city with no cars and get around the best way they can. People want to be closer to what's going on in the city, be able to get around, experience life, go to museums, go to games. First time in human history that we recorded 7 outages over in a single decade. I don't think anybody will question that. Hurricanes have way more force than they've had in a long time. Nature reminds us that we need to do a better job of designing our communities. A new category called disaster design that's been lifted out and shown to be true. I went down to New Orleans not too long after the catastrophe in New Orleans, and they were doing a rebuild in the Trinity neighborhood, and it was meeting all the LEED requirements. And a 9-year-old little girl stood up in front of all these people, the governor, the mayor, and said, whose idea was it to build this city underneath the floodplain anyway? Probably the best damn question's ever been asked. And Bob Bergerbaum stood up, he's an architect that's been well renowned, and said, it was our idea, we made a mistake, and we're trying to correct it. That was probably the best answer that was given as well. So I don't think that anybody would question that these asthma issues that we thought were only in other countries are still only in other countries. They've become very prevalent here. So I was in New York, Boston, San Francisco, Charlotte, and DC this week. Spoke at an elementary school in New York during lunchtime, or right before lunchtime, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock hour. And right after that, the kids were getting ready to go to recess outside, and there were about 35 kids in the cafeteria who couldn't go outside because it was an ozone alert day. This is like the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. I never remember a day I didn't go outside. When I was that age, I mean, I had bottled up energy. It was like, wind me up, turn me loose. But it was just interesting to see them, and they were just so content. And of course, you know, they pulled out their devices and their head was down, and they were digitally engaged. And I think some of them were faking it just so they could stay inside and tweet on their phone. But you know, that's just my observation. But I found it interesting that level of commitment to indoor air quality and outdoor air quality is gotten so bad that people have to stay inside. I think that sometimes we lose sight of what I call the lost ones in sustainability. So many times we focus on energy and all these other things, we don't focus on people. People are more connected to nature than we want to be. And it's not until a disaster occurs that we realize how close we are to nature. My grandmother used to tell me all the time, it's really interesting that when big storms come, the deer and birds and raccoons know where to go and we don't. They're gone before it gets here. They know because they're more connected, because they're out there, they're connected to nature. They can feel when something is about to happen. But we deny the feeling because we're not connected to it as much. We're not outdoors as much. So we can't tell as much as we used to. I think it's a global issue. Start to see more and more countries begin to kind of exacerbate these same concerns. So it takes some courage. The roles that you are choosing to take right now is going to require you to step outside of yourself. You're going to have to prove yourself over and over again. You're going to have to step into a zone where people are going to tell you no, 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 no until they say yes. It's unfortunate that it's that way, but this is a testament to what it is going to have to be in these particular moments. But I will share with you that it's rewarding. And it's going to require some genius. So all the innovation, motivation, business savvy, all of the connectivity, architecture design, all the focus on biology and those things are going to have to collaborate in order for you to come up with new ideas to get people to another place. So I talked to you about principles rather than details, shared framework, common language, focus on upstream, and some non-necessary system conditions that I think you're going to need in order to get to this place. Sounds really difficult, but it's not. Substances from the Earth's crust is not systematically increasing nature. What the hell does that mean? That means you can't take things from Mother Nature faster than she can put them back. That means oil, mercury, gold, silver. You can't take it out faster than she can put it back. Think about when you fill your car with gas. You drive around town, gas goes away, you gotta go get some more. It didn't disappear. Went from a liquid form to a gas form, but it's still there in the same weight that it was when you bought it. You can't continue to do that faster than Mother Nature. I'm not saying that we shouldn't take some things. I'm saying you can't take them out faster than Mother Nature can put them back. So when we take these raw materials from the Earth's crust, what do? We heat, beat, and treat them and make them more durable because we want them to last longer. All right? Purses, earrings, glasses, books, tables, chairs, carpet, walls, cars. We make them more durable because we want them to last for forever. System condition number 2, substance produced by society must not systematically increase in nature. So not only are we going to take things from Mother Nature faster than she can put them back, but in the process we're going to make them more durable. Takes a laptop 23,000 years to break back down inside of a landfill to go back to its original parts. How many laptops have you gone through in the last 7 years? You've gone through more than 2, raise your hand. Cell phones. Come on now, every time they come out with a cell phone, I saw y'all at the Apple store with the 8 can. I cut it out. So what I'm saying to you is that the more and more stuff, more materialistic we become. And we dispose of it. 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 So we're taking more raw material to make more stuff, and we're disposing of stuff that's more durable. So we're saying, hey, you're going to take away your ability to kind of dispose of this stuff by taking raw materials that we shouldn't be taking. And at the same time, we're going to make it more complex for you to take it back and put it back. And nobody wants a landfill next to their backyard. Subdivision number 3, the physical base and productivity and diversity of nature must not systematically diminish. What does that mean? That means we want to continue to increase our population. Want more people? But we want to clear cut the only way that we get out what we breathe out. Carbon dioxide, simple photosynthesis. What do you need in order to process that? Trees. So we clear cut a neighborhood, put down a whole subdivision, and stick a twig in the front yard like it's going to protect the house. But the houses that maintain the best value are the neighborhoods that have the bigger trees. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. And we're going to populate this community and say, hey, we're going to put a lot of people in this new neighborhood with no trees. It's an imbalance within nature. It doesn't feel like it, but it happens. System condition number 4, which is probably the most difficult. There must be fair and efficient use of resources with respect to meeting human needs. Every time I think about this, I think about the early green bills that Art Fraser used to go to, and we were the only 2 African Americans inside of space. For 10 years, I'm looking for Art. Just me and him. Am I lying?
That's it.
For 10 years, Art and I would just go to green bills, and hey, I gotta find. The diversity needs within this arena are significant. Because this is not an issue just for one class or one section of people. This is an issue that impacts everybody in every particular way. And the more and more that the social attributes of this come into light, you will begin to see that it has a global impact, which is even more significant than you can even understand as it relates to climate change and some of these other issues. I'm talking about islands gone on that last hurricane. The British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. You can't even call somebody to figure out what to send or where to send it to. And that's real. I'm talking about classes of people gone. So that is a difficult challenge. So here's the science behind those. I won't dig into them too deeply, but they're relatively elementary. Like they're things that you already know. Matter and energy cannot continue to be created or destroyed. Matter and energy continue to spread spontaneously. Second law of thermodynamics. Biology and economic value qualities in the concentrated structure of matter, what we consume. And green cells are essentially the net only producer of concentrated structure. Photosynthesis. Simple stuff. There are principles behind sustainability within a framework that you got to think about. So, what do the banks say? People will pay more for sustainable solutions. So those of you who are in marketing or in strategic things related to business, people will pay more. I'll give you a great example. Who's been to Whole Foods? Okay, the bread costs a little bit more, though. I'm just wondering, I've been to Winn-Dixie too now. So bread at Winn-Dixie and IGA is a little bit less than the bread at Whole Foods. We'll drive a little longer to get a little further to go to Whole Foods and pay a little bit more. Why? Healthier for you. Better choice. We'll do the same thing for a restaurant. We'll drive past 50 restaurants to get the one that says food to table, farm to table. We'll drive and go do that. Organic. I'm so happy about Whole Foods. I'll talk about them a little bit later because they made Piggly Wiggly get some organic stuff. They made 7-Eleven get fruit. I mean, you couldn't get fruit at 7 gas, honey buns, and maybe some Tic Tacs. That was about it. Right? Now you go to 7-Eleven, fruit, they got a little cheese over here, maybe a bottle of wine. That was not there 10 years ago. Don't be fooled. I mean, like, some of the gas stations that have food and stuff and bananas hanging in there now, that was not there. It was because of Whole Foods that began to ask these different questions and began to kind of push this thing out there and saw that people would pay more. It made the whole grocery chain change. So there are a lot of global trends: fossil power to solar power, taking in waste to cyclical production, living off of nature's capital, living off of nature's income. You know, there's changes that are occurring right before your eyes. You are in the midst of a lot of that change. So I want to show you something. How many architecture students I have? Any architect students? Design, interior design, building, business. All right, cool. Got a few. So I'm going to show you Mother Nature's influence on design. So I want you to be thinking about, when I show you these slides, I want you to be thinking about jobs that are going to be created as a result of this. That's what happens in Oklahoma. Every year, same time, almost to date, it happens. And what have we been doing for 50 years? Every time a school gets torn down, we build it the same way, right back. Like, hey, Mother Nature, we don't care about you. Come on back. And she comes back and she smacks us upside the head again. We go back and we build it the same way all over again. Like, we're gonna put another one. This time we're gonna do 2 bricks in the wall rather than 1. See what you got now. She comes back and pushes it. This is not changing. Either you're gonna move the school somewhere else, or you're gonna figure out how to design a new school. So students at Oklahoma State created a competition because they lived through this. These are millennials. This within the last 4 or 5 years. They created a competition because they lived through tornado warnings at their school every other week during the months of April, May, and June. And they built this. Because the vector in between allows the tornado to skip through or skip over because it's rounded. Convex plastic glass rather than glass. I said, all the classrooms are below the surface. The only thing up top is the gym. Thinking differently. Now the building behind is going to be wiped out. But the whole concept of thinking outside of the box, like, that's the kind of thinking you're going to have to bring to the table. You're not going to be able to come back with the same mindset of doing what everybody's done in the past because it has not been successful. Y'all remember her? She was a monster. Jose was right behind me. Is that take a right? I'm excited about that. Thank you, Jose. So these types of activities decided to make this in New Orleans. Homes that sit off the ground. Now, the car's going to be wiped out, but it allows the water to go up and then it filters back out. And there's a green pathway and it allows it to release into the appropriate channels at the right time. It's a different mindset of thinking about development. Can't continue to approach it the same way. That's a good thing. That's up in Oregon. Right, where people still want to study the trees and want to understand a little bit more about how does this whole photosynthesis thing really work? How do you get a better understanding of that? You can measure it from inside the park, you can measure it in different ways. They decide they want to measure it up close and personal. I don't know how many trackers I have, that's kind of Star Trek. Right? But really interesting to see, not disturbing Mother Nature, being able to kind of still exist. These are the types of things you begin to see moving forward in the future, to be able to connect in so many different ways. So the workplace, you know, if you're going to be working in corporate America, whether it's for Google or Starbucks or another Fortune 500 company or Mohawk or a school, one of the things that's changing is that workplace is going to be totally different by 2022 than it is today. So what you see now is not what you're going to see in 2022. So employees are asking for different things: productivity, engagement, relaxation. I was showing these slides to my dad. Now, you gotta know something about my dad. He's old school. And he saw the word relaxation and work together. It's like, and I mean, he seriously was angry about me putting this slide. You don't relax at work, you go to work. And this is not, I'm like, man, it's just all right, you know, it's a little bit just like, he is still angry about this slide. So he does not understand, like, engagement, who get married at the job? His whole realm of thinking is totally different. So it's kind of really interesting to see like these whole different types of formats of thinking about what the workplace is or is not. Internet workplace. That looks like my car when we're on vacation. Everybody's heads down in the back of the car with their own device. You know, I kind of make a no device rule for certain amounts of hours just because it drives me crazy looking back and not seeing anybody because their heads down. So one of the things that's really happened is like social interaction, you know, digital integration, automation of everything. Everything's kind of tough. So I was overseas 4 months ago. We're building a plant in Brussels, and I happened to stop in London for the pathway through Heathrow Airport. And I go into the airport. It's late at night, their time, early in the morning, my time, and I wanted something to eat. The only thing that was open was McDonald's. So I go to McDonald's and I'm standing there and I'm looking for somebody to say, hey, can I take your order? Nobody. They had buttons and pictures of the sandwiches. And you pushed a button and it gave you whatever meal you wanted on the other end. You never saw a person. Stuck your card in, pushed the button, they charged your card, it came on the other side. When you go to Walmart right now, late at night, usually one person working and a whole lot of self-checkouts. Automated. More and more of that's coming. What does that tell you? What's going to happen to the people who had those jobs? People who had those jobs, they still going to be looking for work. There'll be more the haves and the have-nots. We'll start seeing more and more of it. So there's going to have to be different levels of skill set around different things, how to install solar, other types of skill sets that have to be placed out there. So these sustainability roles will become new jobs as well. So you got to see the trends in the marketplace. Healthy workplaces, people want better foods inside of there. You guys ask for it inside of your cafeterias. If you go in there and there's no salads and no great stuff, you get upset, y'all get the picket signs out, start walking around the building. It happens on every campus, they want better food. And then you want a Chick-fil-A on the other side. Good balance. No, not so healthy. So it's one of those things where you got to try to find a good, healthy balance. Collaboration, minimizing costs, maximizing flexibility, having different types of spaces for you to be able to kind of sit. You know, I used to wonder what an incidental meeting space was. Incidental meeting space? Like, that's an oxymoron, but it's kind of like those spaces outside where you just kind of sit and talk. Those are things that are becoming more and more prevalent. Agile organization, you want organizations that are more flexible and adapt relatively quickly. So you start to see responsible procurement, purchasing jobs that are coming as a result of this. You're starting to see more green prototypes, so more companies committing to having sustainability as a standard. So they're creating jobs inside their organization to make sure that they maintain those standards. Those are roles that will be created. And the more knowledgeable you are around different things, whether you're an accountant, or whether you're a business professional, or whether you do customer service, you're going to be asked to be able to speak about sustainability in a different way. So let's talk about some of the design trends. Biophilic design, health and wellness, worker productivity, those are all things that are out there. Millennial presence. These are buildings now that we're beginning to see that really communicate with each other and have a healthier space so people are more productive inside that space and they can measure. Bill Brown did a really good job of putting together this information to kind of measure this in a format. So measurement of health and productivity inside the space will become a job that will be prevalent in the near future. Impacts of biophilic design. Presenteeism. That's like when somebody's here and they're really not here. You know, you sit next to somebody and they check out because they're supposed to be on vacation. And they just kind of there because they want to be there. They got animal code like that. I got it. But anyway, just they're really not there. And that's like lack of productivity, but it doesn't get measured. How do you measure that? How do you say, hey, they're here, but they're not here? There's no way to measure that. But if you're inside of a space with no windows, sometimes you just want to see what's going on outside. So you may check out for a minute and go peek and see what's going on outside. But imagine being inside of an office with no windows, and that's your job. You're going to take every meeting you can outside. You're going to take as many breaks as you can outside. You're going to schedule as much stuff as you can outside because you want to be able to connect with what's going on outdoors. That's why windows are so prevalent inside this new built environment. Daylighting, children run 20 to 26% faster. Attendance rose 3.2 to 3.8 days per year. Test scores went up 7 to 18% higher. So my wife is a literacy coach for Collin County School District. First time I got that number 7 to 18% higher, I was like, man, I wish it would have been more. I'm looking for 30%. My wife said 100. If 18% more students would have passed the SAT, 2 million students would have went to college last year. That's just in the US. So I realized who was the smartest person in the family, and I got quiet. I didn't know that person once again. So, yeah, 3.2 to 3.8 days per year in attendance. All right? Schools that get financial subsidized, that means something. You got a charter school, or you got one of those 3.2, 3.8 days. It's right around $300,000 per semester in money lost. Hospital stays 8.5% shorter, 22% less medication needs, 21% less medication needs, and a hospital needs 3 nurses full time. Just by having daylight. Look at the before and after picture. When you come into a hospital, white coats, white floors, white walls, and a whole lot of bells and whistles, your pressure automatically goes up, especially if you're a senior or a child. Now this is the same space, just with some wallpaper on the walls that makes it look like a forest, and they measured the pressure before and after, and it was 20% difference in the level of anxiety and pressure inside of someone going inside that space. Just by putting up something that looks like a forest. So all of these different types of things become what they call biofield design, where you design using nature inside of space. Let's talk about the circular economy. You hear about it all the time. People say circular economy. What does that mean? Connectivity. It's really like finding things like these companies have found. The world's most valuable brands. All of the world's most valuable brands are also featured as the world's companies that do the most around sustainability. That's a direct connectivity to their value. Companies who subscribe to the MacArthur Foundation circular economy model have all seen an increase in their stock value in upwards of 20%. Shareholder value is beginning to be equated to sustainability in so many different ways. This whole circular economy model, someone else's waste equals someone else's food. I'll show you some examples of people like Pharrell who've taken plastic bottles from the ocean and turned it into $1 billion business. With a B. Oh, they stopped listening to that one. $1 billion got somebody's attention. So Hall, you gotta begin to look at some of these design things, create things, all these different models that are being created. People are taking them. How many of you ever ordered something from Etsy? So Etsy is a millennial's way to stop working. Millennials figured it out. And I'm gonna tell you this because my daughters told me. My daughters told us, Dad, we don't want to work like you worked. We're gonna work smarter. Because I don't want to wait till I get your age, I got a little offended at that one, before I go and travel to Europe. I want to go while I'm young enough to enjoy it. They watched us work to get a chance to retire and go do something great. They don't want to wait like that. They want to experience that now. So their methodology of doing it is, if I create a business online and it can make me enough money where I'm able to kind of enjoy life a little bit different, and be able to travel when I want to, and not be tied to a clock, from 7 to 7, then that's the model that I want. Create it, let it get big, sell it to somebody else, and then start another business. They have access to way more information than we've ever had access to in our country. So they learn things a lot faster. The things move a lot quicker in their space. So that whole future of recycling, every company is beginning to look at recycling, everything. Beginning to ask different questions. People are selling their own waste. There's a company that's like the Uber for waste. They basically come and look at all your waste and they figure out how to take it and they go sell it and make money and then charge you for taking it. Millennial relevance. These guys have changed the whole landscape of how things are going to be done in the future. They've shown that millennials value work-life balance and flexible working over financial reward. So a few years ago, I had an intern opportunity. And when we had this intern opportunity, it was a great way for us to begin to visualize good things. 3 interns took the role of 1 intern because they wanted to get the experience and take less money in this particular role. So it's important because millennials will be 50% of the workforce by 2020. That's half. Get used to it. They ain't going nowhere. They're here. So design jobs, opportunities in magazines, digital gaming for designing spaces, creating virtual spaces like video games for customers to be able to view and see, conference leadership opportunities, manufacturers will be moving in different ways. Companies like Method will do a social project with all the chemicals that they sell. Patagonia, who recycles jackets back into jackets. Whole Foods, who I love, I told you they changed the whole food market. These are the 9, Manfred Maxim have these 9 things that they say you need to live sustainably. Subsistence, protection, affection, participation, leadership, leisure, understanding, creation, identity, and freedom. You need them in order to live in a sustainable society. And they all work hand in hand. So there's been an engagement, an emergence of a lot of makers and artisans and craftsmen. Burial with their skateboards made from fishing nets. The Coleman stool made from scrap wood inside of an architectural firm. A watchmaker who only hires students who dropped out of college to make their own brand of watches and sell them on Etsy. Google, big companies who hire students to come in and look at healthy materials programs because they live inside the workspace. Pharrell, who takes plastic bottles from the ocean. That's why he's so damn happy. And turned it into a career. Here's what you don't know. NBA Green Week, when they had those different colored jerseys, those are all made from binding yarn from Pharrell. $1 billion a year business. That's how Adidas got the contract, because they hired Pharrell to come and do shoes for them, and he ended up bringing that jersey business over as well. That's the piece people miss. I'd be happy too, I'm in the wrong business. So a lot of brand awareness has come as a result, and products have been developed that mimic nature and use nature as a part of its design. It's been inspired in so many different ways. Living products have been created. Different places have been explored. Campus programs have been enhanced. Material studies, beauty, telling the story around products. That's me and my grandma. So like that was the first environmentalist that I ever met. She never threw away anything. So she would make Bible covers, plastic recycling bin, all kinds of stuff out of stuff. One of the things I didn't know is she had a purpose. So I'm getting to a point. My point to you is find out what your purpose is. Don't just run into this field aimlessly. Find out what your purpose is. I didn't know what her purpose was around certain things that she made. So that same bib that you see I have equipped my brother, my sister, they all have pictures. They're in a quilt that I have, and they always want, and I never give it to them. But I found other quilts that she made, and one thing I didn't know is that she hung them out every night, and I didn't know why, up until she passed. Because she was telling somebody, I grew up in Alabama, she was trying to tell people who were coming from Florida how to get to Tennessee during the Underground Railroad. And I never knew what was on those quilts until I got grown. So what I'm saying to you is that this is not new. It's just being reinvented. Find out what your purpose is and make sure that what you're doing has a different value than what people see it for. Because that's what's going to make you better than the person who's doing the job now. So I'll give you courage and genius in many forms. I don't know if this sound is going to work, but we'll see. No dice? I missed it.
And the little kids in Paraguay actually made all of the instruments out of trash. Look at this, poor people.
If the music is not enough stage.
One question. What kind of music will you make before you leave us up? Figure out what kind of music you want to make before you leave us up. Good opportunity. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you for being here. And as I said before, I'm always so inspired to feel that there's so much left to be done every time I hear the word. So I hope you guys are inspired too. We're going to go into your next session, and we'll let you know the sessions. They're going to, our breaks are going to be a little bit shorter because we ran a little bit over with this, and I'm glad you were inspired by this. And we have wonderful gift certificates from Mohawk that we will be filling with. We will be drawing from your responses on the survey, so make sure that you get those in. And thank you very much for taking some time out for us and for Mohawk coming to bring prizes to us.
I just like to.
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.